Oh my god. Ah, stop it. Stop it. It is making noise. Okay. Hi. That's where we begin. Okay. Because I know you can hear me, but I know I know I look like a freaking sun ghost. Okay. It's golden hour. I tried. It doesn't work. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. I just went from inside to outside to inside to outside because I was like, oh my god, the sun is shining. I have to take advantage of the sun. And then there are the millennials. The millennials are playing outside. I'm like, the millennials are so loud, and we don't have gates and nothing like that. I tried to hide from them, but you know me. I get distracted by every little thing. If you don't know me, well, you know me now. I get distracted by literally every single little mother freaking thing that comes out of this mother freaking nature ass house. And I love nature, but man, do I hate noise. Yes, I like noise. I make music for a living. I love noise, but I love curated noise. Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference. So I was like chocolate stuck in my throat, but it's okay. I had like a little dark chocolate cacao. The ramblelations is what I want to call this, because truthfully, I don't really know what this is about. I was literally trying to get a water bottle, and now I'm ending up doing a whole little podcast in my living room. So take that as you will. If you don't take that as you will, well, too bad. You can leave. I'm joking. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. What am I gonna talk about today? I'm thinking about that girl who's current. Well, I guess the sun is gone. I'm thinking about that one girl on TikTok I think her name is Paris. And to be honest, I don't really want to put my 2 cents into that. I'm just like, damn. There's a lot that goes on. I don't know if I'd compare her to lip gloss. I don't know if you guys know who lip gloss is. She was one of one of the big black influencers. She wasn't even, I feel like she wasn't even just like an influencer. She was more of like an authentic person who just talks about like the black girl struggles. I know one of the things that she got in trouble for was to saying like how white boys like natural hair, and I was like, I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Some people have some interesting takes, I will say. I'm only saying that because I live in a pretty white dominant place. And I'm like, there has not been a singular boy that has ever been like, wow, I love. Well, maybe they have, but I just don't remember because I blocked them all out in my head. But I don't know. Um, I guess I'm just going to talk about the perils of being stuck at home and having to pay debt once more, I guess. Like, I have debt. It's not like, debt like credit card debt or anything. Not that it's bad, because there are situations as to why people have debt, but I have debt because of student loans. Shit sucks, bro. Shit sucks so bad. And you know what I did today? You know what I did today? Let me tell you what I did today. I went outside. I went outside by myself. And I went to go exercise. You know what? You want to talk about how I was like a fitness beast back in my day? So, if you don't know, I actually used to play soccer. I played soccer for about 7 years. Four or five of those years being about traveling soccer. So I was in a traveling team. It means my parents were paying, but they wanted to pay. They were like, we're going to invest in our daughter's extracurriculars. And I went to a bunch of different states. I went to a bunch of different states around the area. Here where I live, I've gone to like Las Vegas. I've been to a bunch of places around the Midwest, like the area that I'm in. Las Vegas is probably the furthest that I've gone, but I used to play around that area, and I remember for the majority of the time, right, I'd have like practices maybe 3 to 4 days a week, hour and a half. I had to like literally, like, especially in high school, like my first 2 years, I quit my third year, but like my first 2 years of high school, I was like CrossFit training and doing practices, which means I was practically exercising 5 times a week for about an hour to an hour and a half. And I remember there's a picture of me while I'm doing like practice, and bro, my legs are freaking toned. Oh my god, they're toned. Which, side note, I know about this girl Liz Schmidt, right? Who's like on Skinny Talk. And I remember I saw one of her old photos and I was like, damn, like why did you do that to yourself? Like your legs were toned and apparently that's fat. I'm learning about white girl skinny, black girl skinny. I mean, I think I've always known this, but like for a minute I was like, I think I used to think that it wouldn't affect me, but you know, when you live in a white dominant society, white girl skinny is crazy. Oh my god. Like god forbid a girl has tone and muscularity and all those vascularity and all those other terms that people use in the gym fitness world whatever, but like it just kind of baffles me how well, I mean, honestly, it doesn't baffle me because I was looking at like clothing stores and I was like, oh, these clothings look so cute for like, you know, a skinny person. And that's because they primarily go to skinny people. Whenever you go on Victoria's Secret, for example, right? Like when Victoria's Secret was huge, everybody was like, oh my God, I wish I could just lose this fat. And an unpopular opinion, I hate dieting. Well, I don't know if it's unpopular, but I hate dieting. I hate calorie deficits. I hate all of that. And I truly think the role of benefit by just accepting other people's bodies as the way they are. And that's not necessarily to say like you shouldn't be healthy, but I'm tired of unhealthiness being on the spectrum of like if you're unhealthy, you're automatically assigned as fat when you can be just as unhealthy when you're skinny. And vice versa, when you don't have to be skinny to be healthy, right? You can be, I think some people, okay, this is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical practice practitioner or whatever, but genuinely I think there are just some people who are meant to have a little more fat, like they're just more genetically disposed to have more fat and bones in their bodies, and therefore they're supposed to be healthier in that sense. But for other people, right, it's like they're supposed to be a little bit skinnier, and I think that's okay, right? Like as long as you're eating well, like you're eating your vegetables, you're eating your fruits, you're having your protein, whether that's in meat or it's in lentils or whatever you want to do. Um, as long as like for me, I'm not gonna lie, the way I kind of realized that I could somehow regulate my sweet to intake is to honestly just have the thing that I want. Because what I used to do when I was in my sophomore year of college is I'd be like eating something and then I'd be like, okay, this is already like not that healthy. To be fair, I didn't know how to cook protein that well. But I'd already eat like something that was like pre-packaged made. I'd have a salad on the side, and then I'd be like, I really want a sweet treat, but I'd be like, no, that's not good. So I usually had a tangerine to offset that. But then by the end of it, I'd be like, I just want to grab my sweet treat, and I used to grab like 10 Oreos. It was insane. And then I got sick of Oreos after a while. So I was just like, you know what? It's just better to have the sweet treat and just eat it and be satisfied than to, you know, deny yourself of that. And I'm like, I don't really believe in the low fat, no carb. I mean, maybe challenge yourself, I guess, to have like no sweets or just have like a sweet that's a little bit less sugary, because honestly it's like I don't even think it's most of the people's fault that they have sugary sweets that are so sugary. It's literally like in America specifically, right? They're added fucking crazy insane absorbent amounts of sugar into everything. Like when you go to a different country, it's not as sweet. Things are more tart. When you, I'm saying this as a person who's gone to Asia and I've gone to Africa. Things are just mad sweet over here to a point where it feels medicinal sweet, if that makes sense. Like you know how people are always like, "Oh, you guys have like when you have a cherry coke, like a medicine that's like in cherry coke or something, and it's like, "Oh, this tastes like medicine." That's how it feels like, you know? I can't explain it, but it feels like that. So, I don't know. I it's crazy out here, really. Like the way that I guess it curbs me like to get away from all like the skinny propaganda is And I didn't mean skinny as in like not eating well, like not actually properly taking care of yourself as skinny, because that's what, again, like, unfortunately, that's what it's assigned to, like healthy is skinny, when it's not really that way all the time. But I think what's helped me to at least stay away from that is the patriarchy, because I think about the current times that we're in right now and how they want women to be housewives, to be delicate, to be slim, to be all these different sorts of things that define femininity, which are honestly just reminiscent of, like, how women in like the 1920s and back had no rights. They were meant to be housewives. They had no futures. They had no this. They had no that. And like, to some extent, I guess I kind of understand why, because, right, like, I'm a Gen Zer myself. I know how bad it is to get a job. I know how bad it is to like go through things and everything. But I'm like, why would you revert back to something that would never benefit you in the long run? It's just not clicking in my head. Also, I didn't realize how many people would be housewives. I didn't realize how common that profession was. I must be living in a different world. I did not know that like being a housewife was such a big thing, especially here in America. Like, I didn't know how many people wanted to be like housewives, stay-at-home moms, be like, oh, I have a income. I don't have an income, but I have, like, my husband who's telling me, I mean, giving me everything that I want in life and more. And I'm like, oh, because both of my parents work, but I just, it's a fascinating topic to see. It's truly fascinating because I don't, how do I say this? How do I even put this? What am I even trying to say? I don't want to feel like a child again. I don't want to feel like a child again. I don't know. I I want to have inner child joys, but also part of the thing of being a child is that you have to be told no a lot, and people have control over you all the time. That is the part of the experience of being a child, because you don't know any better. Why do you want to revert back to being a child? You can be the adult child. The adult child is the one that pays their bills, that does everything that they need to do in order to survive, but also allots time for experiences and buys things that make them happy, whether it's experiences or materialistic things. And I think, and I know, right, like, we live in a society where they make it virtually impossible for women, but you don't need a lot, And even if you do want a lot, it is possible. You can make it. But I think it's just, I mean, I'm not gonna tell somebody like you that you shouldn't be a housewife or anything, but I'm like, I truthfully think that, it's just my opinion, but like, they want, femininity is looked as the same as being a child. And I know growing up is a really hard concept. There's still things that I'm still trying to recover for myself, but like, you kind of have to change. You're always constantly molding. You can't be reverting back to old habits all the time, especially if they don't serve you in the long run. And I don't want to, like, depending on a person who you kind of low-key barely know. I mean, whether you've known them for 4, 5, 6 years, it's like people, again, are constantly changing, and it's like, it's really up to them to tell you if they're changing. If not, you're probably going to find out, and most of the time it doesn't usually go well. I don't know. This is ramblelations, okay? This is where I'm just like kind of formulating my thoughts. I don't fully expect anybody to listen to this. Truthfully, I just like to skip back and forth. If this ever gets too big, I low-key might delete it because I'm like, this is a lot. But like, it is, the whole, what I'm trying to say is, femininity is rooted in childish, damn near pedophilic ideations. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it, especially in the current place of things. And when you realize it in that political sense, it disgusts you. And I think what true femininity is the capability to take care of yourself and cherish yourself. And it does not have to be, whether you like to wear pink. It does not have to be whether you like to have your hair long. It does not matter if it has to be you want to tend and water to your plants. It just needs to be things that serve you. And it's not about your uterus either. Thank you. Goodbye. It's not about your uterus either. You can be a woman and be your own self. That can coexist at once. Of course they coexist at once. You're you and you want to you're a woman. Be a woman. Be the woman. Be the woman. Goodbye. Okay. This is Rambelations number 1. Revelations Genesis number 1. Goodbye. I think tattoo a podcast and say